Well guys, hope you're doing well. This video is the update for my KS0-PRO Heatsinks reinstall. So we're gonna be reading some temperatures and some amperage on connectors in this video, and I'm gonna compare to two of these miners. So one is KS0-PRO number 1, the IP address 113, you can see that here, and this one is KS0-PRO number 4 on IP 119, okay? Now, when we look at the temperatures reading, hope you guys can see that. Will be sorry, I have to record the screen, but you can see one of the miner in the middle. That's number 4, running a lot cooler, and the reason for it is just because it runs on slightly bigger fan. It's not slightly bigger; it's actually can run up to 5,000 RPM, but it's running on almost 1,900 RPM versus the other fans are running on 1,400 RPM, right closely. So we could see that on our readings on the first 32 degrees running at the 2,000 RPM. 2,000 RPM is for this KS0, and the first one is 1,380, almost 1,400 RPM. So that's why this showing the temperature on this. Look how much it's cooler on the infrared camera. It looks like it's the coolest KS0-PRO I have on this rig, just because it's running about 600 RPM more air through it, okay? Now, also in this video we'll be checking the amperage. So I have two of them connected to my amp reader and power meter. So it's basically running 133 watts. That goes to my first one, 11 amp. So it's 11 amp on this connector. So this connector really gonna get hot. And then this number 4 miner running at 130 watts, 10.9, so it's pretty close, only a couple of watts difference. And same way it's running to that 5.5 by 2.5 connector that I don't like. So let's take a look at these connectors. Hope you guys could see how crazy the temperature gets around those connectors. So that's around 45 degree on that connector. My second one, they're all pretty much on running over clocks of 280 gigahash right now. So look like the connectors gets 47. Now this one I soldered directly. These wires I soldered directly to the board with the 12 gauge wire, silicone wire, which is overkill, but look at the temperatures there. That connector is totally cool. All the heat is on the inside, so there is nothing on the wires showing temperature, nothing much more, right? So that's pretty cool. Thinking I'm gonna do that if I need to, if I'll be able to run it on 12 volt. This overclocks 340. I'll probably gonna solder those connectors, because look at this, solder those wires directly to the board, because it's just crazy how hot it is running on those 5.5 by 2.5 mil connectors. So let's get to start on overclocking this number 1 miner. Obviously, I think the first thing I need to do is just bring the temperatures down, same way as number 4, by bringing the same fans. So we'll be fair comparison. I'm gonna have to do the 2 fans are equal size, and we'll put them on the same speed, 2,000 RPM. We'll see how the temperature comparing on these 2 guys, okay? We'll get back to it. All right, I may be running this camera under a weird angle. Hope you guys can see this, but so this is 113 IP, and that's a number KS01, right? So the temperatures there, 52 degree on exhaust, 35 on intake, and I'm running at 50% span feet on both of these miners, okay? It's been an hour on right now on the network, but I ran with those heat sinks change for about 10 hours now. So this one gets a little bit less hash rate, well, actually about the same, 1 hour. And it's a 54 degree. Let's see, once we run the fan, also 50% on the fan. So it shows on the sensor slightly higher temperatures because I've changed the heat sinks. I added to this guy, and it's just 1 degree less with the fans, external fan, only at 1400 RPM, and this is 2000 RPM. So let's get same fans. We'll run it for a little bit longer and see how the temperature will affect with the heat sink added to the MOSFETs or without the heat sink, right? Before we do start upgrade our firmware. All right, so I replaced all these fans with the 5000 RPM fans. Those are bigger fans. I need to put the grills probably in the front here. Because if you put your finger in there, you can probably break the fan and chop your finger off if it goes to 5000 RPM. But I'm running them right now at about 2400 RPM. Let's see, let's zoom it in so you guys can see that. All right, so the first 3 fans connected to this first sensor. It goes from my number 1 miner, and it's connected to all 3 of these fans on the same sensor. And then I have 4 of these guys connected to the second sensor that is on number 4. And I put together the RPMs of them. I adjusted the temperatures, triggering about the same. So it's roughly around 2400 RPM. This one is 25, but pretty much close to the same RPM on those fans. So now let's take a look at what did it change. It was 4 miles per hour before when we did that, and now it's about, I think it's about 5 miles an hour. The wind blowing through the fan, roughly plus minus, right? This fan, yeah, about 5 miles an hour at 2400 RPM. I think if we adjust RPM a little bit more, it goes up pretty quickly. So for now, for this test, we're going to be using this setting at 2400 RPM. And if we need to increase the speed, if the temperature goes up, when we overclock this higher from 280 to 300 and 320, 340 hopefully, then we'll see the temperature, how it goes. So right now, I think we are in this. Let's check the temperature, by the way, of this rig. I like this thermal imaging camera while it's starting. All right, so let's take a look. What do we have? We have all temperatures the same except number 6. It's really cold. My guess is we disconnect the power connector and it's restarting while we were changing the fans. So let me double check that on computer. That's IP121, just to make sure that's what it is. And you can see right away that one is a cooler at number 6 of the rig is cooler here on the screen. Now everything else seems to be pretty much equal in the temperature, number 1 and 4. Let's check again our connector's temperature. Yeah, you could see it's running pretty hot. It's about 41. I don't know if you guys can see maximum temperature there, 40 Celsius. On the second one, about the same, 45 Celsius. And then oops, on my wired one is the coolest. There's no like really heat at the connector where I had soldered. So that's pretty much the best connection I have so far. I'll probably have to do it on that overclocked one as soon as I get the temperature reading. So, and we are running, if you remember, the power readers here on number 4 and number 1. So So this way we could test it out. So it's 11 amp and 10.9 amp at the connector on the first one. And let's get to the web GUI and see what we do. All right, so we are in the web GUI, and this is number 1, our miner that we've changed the heatsinks on. It's been running for about 2 hours after I restarted again, and let's see the temperature here, 46.34, and that's with the heatsinks been replaced. That's the one we're gonna upgrade to the, and they run in the internal fans, by the way, 50% right now. I'm gonna change that to 100 when I start doing the upgrade. So let's see, this is also at 50%, the number 4 KS0, and we're running 52 degree on the exhaust, 34.52 versus 34.46. So you can tell it's 6 degree difference on the exhaust temperature. I don't know where the temperature sensor are in the miner, but it did, looks like, reduce our number 1 temperature here after we changed the heatsink. So even if we're running, looks like on the 280, if we decide to keep on 280, it still runs cooler with the heatsink added to the system. So let's begin with our firmware upgrade. I need to upload it here, and we'll go with the step-by-step configuration there. All right, first thing first, you gotta read the instruction really carefully, guys. It basically, the most important part is your temperature is gonna be a lot higher, and obviously you need a larger power supply. So read all through. There is a warning about that firmware can permanently damage your device, so you pretty much have to be really careful what you're doing when you do that firmware upgrade. Also, the steps are pretty similar from previous steps. However, here, make sure you read these notes on the firmware as you go through the L version first. Prioritize first low voltage version. Also, when you mine in this firmware, your power supply needs to be above 200 watts. An external fan is installed. Apply 6x6 copper zinc, which we did, to the MOSFET. And I don't have 3D printed parts, but I have the 3000 RPM or higher fan. I have 5000 RPM. I set right now to 3000 RPM. So I had to go ahead and get that down to 3000. You could see that 3150 on one line, and the second line 3060 RPM. So they're all ready to go. It did increase my speed of the air coming through to roughly 7.6 miles per second. It was about 6 before. And let's see overall temperatures here. Right now we have maximum 45 degrees, and that's on my power supply, not on my miners. Yeah, right there, about 34, 40 is the hottest spot, right? Okay, and let's take a look on in our web GUI. What do we have for that miner number 1 with 3000 RPM? I set 100 on my fan speed, on internal speed. It's recommended to do 100, so make sure you do 100 here. And let's see, my temperature now dropped to 31.43. So 43 is your exhaust temperatures, and that's 100 RP, 100% of your fan speed, internal fan speed, and 3000 RPM. And I have heat sinks installed. So let's compare that without heat sink. I restarted all these miners. It's 49. Obviously, I don't have this to 100%. So let's, just to be fair, do both of them 100% so we can fairly compare these two miners. And I'm pretty sure this temperature is gonna drop by a lot. 33.49 versus we had 41.33 right on my one with the heatsink on the MOSFETs. Let's see, probably gonna take a while before this speed gonna upgrade. It is running at 100%, but the temperature probably cool down, not right away, but probably gonna drop to 48. I get feeling maybe 47, but still it's warmer than my number one with the heatsinks. All right, so let's get to the so we got set up everything, the air running through, we got our fans blowing outside, 100 RPM on that, and we're ready basically to start firmware upgrade. So what I'm gonna do, we need to restart initial setup. So before we upload the initial, we need to restart the miner. This is very important when you do that. When I did first time, I didn't do it correctly, and it cost me a lot of time to redo it. So you gotta press and hold reset button until you see the red light. You can count till 30, or you just simply wait till the red goes. I usually like to wait maybe about 5 or 7 blinks of the red, just to make sure it's completely factory reset. So right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then you release, and then the miner is just gonna continue to blink a couple of times, go red, and it's gonna reboot itself to the factory settings. So once it's rebooted to factory settings, you're pretty much ready to install your initial setup. So we can go back, and once it's already on the web GUI, we'll get the upload, the version of the initial setup here. So to do that, it's very simple. All you gotta do just to select your initial, open there in the firmware upgrade. Wait, however, I need to wait till my miner go back online. Right, so you need to wait for that. And not just you want to wait till it becomes available online, also you want to make sure, I figure you want to make sure it start hashing, accepting the shares. I'm going to show you in a second. Let's wait till it goes online. Okay, so we have this miner reset to original settings. It went back online, so it doesn't have the name anymore, but it's 113 my IP address, so you could see that clearly. It's the same KS0-PRO. And we have to wait till, I'd like to wait when it starts at least one accepted share before I go to upgrade firmware. Kind of figured it's kind of make sure it's 100% initialized and rebooted, because when you go and do it too quickly and you start uploading those firmware one after another, you need to kind of take a time, just pause it, wait for a minute or two before it start getting share. And I think that's makes more quality installation. I don't know why, but when I try to do kind of faster and go install, reboot, and that's sometimes doesn't get to the perfect installation. Sometimes you think it's your silicon battery, but it could be just installation wasn't done properly. Okay, so let's see if we got the first share accepted or not. I'll probably take another minute or so. Then adjust a little bit so you guys can see full screen there. Hopefully there is not much blur on the screen. Okay, so we got, all right, so we got accepted shares there. Right, so we're gonna go and click on firmware update and select our initial firmware. Make sure you use the one you received with from Tswift when you get that to specific MAC address. Okay, so you use only for the one that matches your MAC address. We're gonna open and update. It will take probably about 10-20 seconds, and it will get you confirmation that the firmware updated, and then we'll get to the next step. All right, so we got it succeeded. Machine need to be restarted, so we're doing restart and reboot. So now we'll take another probably 2 minutes until it's go back online and we're ready for the next updated file. So let's wait 3 minutes and let's get back to it. Alright, so we rebooted and we are on initial firmware, and it's listed right there at the bottom, initial. So that's kind of easy to see. The next one, I'm not sure if it's going to be labeled by any of the firmware differences, but usually just one different version XY. So let's see, we're gonna start accept and share probably in a second here, and we're gonna go to the next step. So I'm just gonna make sure we are up and running with the new firmware and everything is good, connected 100%. So let's see, probably another few seconds more. Alright, so we are probably right there, almost there. Should start hashing any second. There is no accepted share set as of yet. I wonder that initial firmware update may take a little longer. Temperature is 100%. We're running fans, so everything seems to be fine. There should be accepted share coming up okay. It's alright. So now even if you get one, that means you connected to pool, everything running successfully, and you get in the hash rate there since you have accepted share. So let's go to firmware upgrade, and we're not gonna go to 340 right away. I'm thinking to start with 300 and check and we start with the L version, see if it's even gonna work for the low voltage. The others didn't work for me, so let's try this out. Let's see if 300GL gonna work, and then we're gonna gradually go up, but we're gonna check the temperatures and our amperage on the connector because we don't want to exceed that. So in about 10 seconds we're gonna confirm firmware and come back here. Alright, so succeeded operation. We're gonna reboot the miner. Okay, and let's take 5 minutes until it restarts, and we'll come back and then we'll see the temperatures there. I'm gonna be checking temperatures while it's rebooting just to make sure everything okay, and amperage on my power meter is good for the connector. Alright, so it's restarted. We're gonna immediately go and change the fan speed here to 100% for our internal fans, just to make sure we keep the temperatures down. And we're gonna change our mining settings to our pool mining, but it's already have 4 accepted shares, so it's probably gonna go online. The temperatures look so far good, but it's not full hashing yet, so we'll need to really carefully watch this up and see what the hash rate we're gonna get on this 300L version, and then go to the next step. Let's check the temperatures on the power meter. And by the way, this miner is still warming up. See, like it's the coolest one on the rig. You can clearly see that number 1 is still performing really cool. However, on the 12 volts we're now reading 13.3 amps, 13.2 amps and 135 watts, so it's not much more. It was 133 watts, only 2 watts difference really. I have this one, number 4, is actually running on 129, 130 watts, and a 10.85 amp. It was 10.9, so it's kind of fluctuate. But this is a little bit more. Didn't hash 100% yet, so let's wait and let's check the temperatures on connector. So 11 amp. Obviously, we're adding a lot of heat to that connector. So you could see the wire itself and connector The only hot part is really internal part of that connector, I think. Up, down, kind of hard to see there inside, but that's the hottest spot, like a 40 degrees. Have to be careful with those fans. Like a lot of reflection again. That's the second connector, 32. And obviously the one that I soldered is the best so far. This 12 gauge cable, silicone wire, it's just working perfect. It's cool to touch. Absolutely nothing can be done to it. It's the best probably connection. Even I think 14. We'll see what the amperage just to decide we're gonna run to. Then we can decide what cable we should use, and then we'll try on a 19 volt, and we'll see what the wattage we're gonna use on both ends. So we'll switch to it in a minute. Oh, and by the way, overall consumption at the wall, I had 10,080 watts before, 1,080. Looks like one of the miners probably disconnected while I was doing that. Let's see which one. You could tell right away, like it's getting, okay, number 2 right there, probably being restarted. Okay, yeah, it just restarted. I think I just pulled the wire off a little bit accidentally, so you need to be a little careful when you work around this miners, alright? If you do like a rig and stuff. Okay, so let's go back to web GUI. Let's see if we start hashing anything here yet. Okay, let's update. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. The temperature is 47, 100% fans internal, and we have external fan running at 3,000 RPM. Drop down a little bit probably. Okay, so let's check our other miner, of course, number 4, still at 49 degree. Yeah, still at 49 with the 100% internal fans. So let's see how we're doing. Increase a little bit the external fan's speed. Looks like temperature dropping down nicely. Let's see, we're getting on the low voltage version, we're getting only 283 gigahash. So it's even a little bit lower than we were getting on the 280 version, I think, G. But of course, L version doesn't work always. It's my silicon battery didn't work on none of them. So probably this overclock's gonna be the same way. So we'll have to run 300G version first before we go next. So obviously this is the least consumption. So we only added 3 watts. And if it run like 300 gigahash, it would be nice, but I don't think it will. Okay, I will let it run for another maybe 10 minutes, come back, and then we'll do the next firmware upgrade step. Alright, so it's been about 18 minutes now, and we see the hash rate is actually start dropping from 280 to 260. So I guess we gotta go and get to the next firmware of the 300G version just to test it out. And we'll see what the amperage and the temperatures reading are for this firmware. It's gonna restart pretty soon, but I want to show you guys real quick how the temperatures on all of these miners now is actually running pretty cool with the 3000 RPM fan setup. It's only 34 degrees, I think, is the highest of 34 degrees Celsius. And the on here on number 6. Everything else is even cooler. So now this is gonna restart, and we're gonna go back and check on our miner. So we're gonna confirm that okay. It will reboot the system and we'll confirm okay. So it will take probably another 10 minutes, and we'll come back and check on that miner again. All right, guys, so we're back to Web GUI. Been 18 minutes mining to the pool, and I have 320 gigahash on 300G version. The temperatures are pretty cool, 43.27. I have running 100% of internal fans just to be sure there is no issue with that. And oh, by the way, I noticed the Tswift go back to his original banner here on this overclock, so it's not color anymore like this, guys. So we have this original one, which I like kind of too. It's cool. So let's check our temperatures on the actual miner and see what the amps reading real quick. All right, so we are at the miner, and take a look. It is 148 watts right now, and it's 12.3 amp on a 12 volt system. So it does work on 12 volt, but I bet you they're probably this connector is going to be starting overheating pretty soon. But on 12 amp, that's already over rated ratios. We are running 10.8 amp on the number 4, which is 280G. So at 300G, we get in 320 hash, 320 gigahash with the 12.3, 148 watts, and we'll probably add it on the wall some extra. Let's see the temperature, bro. I really want to see how are we on that connector right there. Sorry about that, but you guys can see. All right, so we are at roughly getting 36. So it's not too bad, but it's about 40 degrees, about the same temperature on the connector. So hopefully, sorry about the image, it's not probably being clear. Okay, right there, 48. I have to be careful with these fans. All right, so yeah, it's the temperature connector seems to be not warming up more than it was before, but we are drawing more, about 2 extra amp right now. Let's see how we're looking. Been restarting this number 2 for some reason. I think I pulled out connector. I'll have to check, but yeah, look how much cooler this side running up, probably because we increased this yeah, RPM. There's 2000 RPM on this side and the 3000 almost RPM on the 300G overclock side. It's about 70 degree in the room temperature. So our ambient temperature obviously in a cool, so you guys have to make sure you're running in a cool environment to check and test your stuff. Let's see, let's refresh one more time. Yeah, so we dropped a little bit now, 309 gigahash, but still it's better than 260, right? So temperatures, I think acceptable, 27.43. So I think I'm gonna go to the next, and we're gonna go ahead and upgrade to the next firmware. I don't know if I want to try even L on 320. It's probably not gonna work on my silicon, so I'm just gonna skip that and go 320G. Update, and we'll see how we're gonna run. I'll probably gonna add a little bit of a speed on those fans to back to 3000 RPM or 30, maybe 200 RPM, something like that, and we'll get back in about 10 minutes after we restart this back to Web GUI. Let's see what's our Number 4 running to see it's even running hotter, 48 degrees Celsius with the 100% fans, internal fans. So we're gonna go ahead and submit, restart. So now we're going to 320 gigahash. I hope that not gonna overheat anything. We'll see in a little bit. All right, so we are on WebGUI, just restarted the miner, and make sure first thing you go back here and don't wait till it's gonna automatically change the temperature, but the set 100% to your internal fans while you're testing, just to make sure everything goes smooth, and watch for your temperatures while you're refreshing, just to make sure these temperatures goes pretty nice and smooth, does not exceed. And yeah, let's wait for until we start accepting shares. So we're probably gonna see our miner in a little bit, so we'll get back to it in maybe 10 minutes or so. All right, so I've been 15 minutes up on the WebGUI, showing 327 gigahash, 5-minute rate. Obviously wasn't 30 minutes yet, and my temperatures 44 and 29, and I'm running 100% internal fans, and I had to add external fan to 3200 RPM, so it was 3000, now it's 3200. So it does help a little bit because it went to like 47 degrees, and I decided let's keep it a little cooler just to be safe. And let's look at our miner on the rig, just see how it's doing on the temperatures wise, and the amperage on 320 version, right? Let's check it out real quick. Okay, so we are here getting right now 13.2 amp, 158, 57, 58 watts. So it's 158 watts from 132, 133. So that's about 25 watts increase on a 12 volt. And at the wall overall it's 1059. I don't think it's picked up my number 2, restarted again. I need to do something with that connector, it's already being loose. And for 13 amp guys, I don't recommend using 12 amp. It's gonna melt your connector no matter what cables you use. It's the connector gonna be probably have an issue pretty soon. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna end up soldering same way as I did this guy. I don't need to use 12 gauge wire for this soldering. I'm probably just gonna solder with 14 gauge. I already made some connectors in the last video, so I'll be using those, and probably gonna update this unless you just do 19 volt. And I'm gonna, once we update to 340G, I'm gonna install my 19 volt step-up converter, and I will check the amperage there and see if it's safe for this connector, and see how much extra power is going to draw. So we'll connect on 12 volt on one side and see what's our power reading going to be at the 12 volt. Let's take a look also on our temperatures overall. Yeah, you see number 2 been restarting quite a bit because of that power cable came out. All right, so I'm gonna try to show you those MOSFETs. I don't know what you make for them. All right, I hope you can see them. They're running around 51, 52, about a little bit hotter, roughly like 56 degrees Celsius on those heat sinks. I hope you guys can see those 4 white ones. I'm gonna try to zoom in and show you right there. You can probably see them inside, just right there. Yeah, there you go. Those are 4 of my offsets, 1, 2, 3, 4 inside, right? So the temperature on them running quite the around 50. 54 degrees Celsius. Okay, then if we compare just on the regular one, let's do this on number 4. say about 3-4 degrees more Celsius, actually even probably 5 degrees more on the without the heatsink, but it's 280G versus 320G. So let's get to 340G and see how we run, what amperage gonna be, and we'll get back to that readings again. So let's go back to web GUI, update one more time. We'll see how we're doing. Yeah, looks like we're getting 320G quite a bit stable, and temperature is about 44, which is, I think it's acceptable for now. So let's get to the next firmware version. It's going to be 340G. I don't think I'm going to try L. It didn't work on any of my miners before, so I'm just going to go to 340G. I may gonna try them separately because I need to go through that L system when I reset completely to factory settings. So let's do 340G right now. We'll see the reading at the meter, and I'll switch one more time to 19 volt to show you guys the amperage reading. So we're gonna confirm that, reset, and we'll come back in about again 10-15 minutes. We'll see what we getting at our amperage and the hash reading. Hopefully this one gonna run at 340 as well. All right, so we're back, and we've been on the web GUI showing 54 minutes, almost an hour. We've been running on 340 gigahash firmware, and you can see we are averaging around 326 gigahash, 5 minute 324 on the 30 minute, and you can see what's our noise now. It's level here. It's about 6-7 feet away from the rig. It got to 58 decibel. Used to be just around 50 or 48, 50. So it's a lot louder now with the fans running, external fans at 3200 CFM, just to keep the temperature down. And we've been stable around 45 degrees, which is pretty good, I think, temperatures. To be able to get the better hash rate, I was thinking, but I guess my silicon is just not lucky enough. My other consumption is the voltage. Maybe on the 19 volts it could perform a little bit better or not. I don't know. I'm gonna try that. So I just wanted to leave it for an hour so we get a full kind of view of it, and we'll see the temperatures in a second. More important for me is these numbers here. After almost an hour, we are getting 30 minutes, our hash rate, 30 minutes, 307. So we're not quite there on the pool, because you could see I have some of my 280 gigahash that runs on the 300 gigahash on the pool there. However, this one it's a little higher, 307, but it haven't been wine. I need to be probably at least 3-4 hours to get a little better idea here on the pool. So, well, I guess at this point I will switch to get to the point of this video to 19 volt. We'll get the amperage reading on 19 volt just to make a conclusion, and probably it's not my silicon. Battery good, see it's even dropping to 316, even though the temperatures are pretty good. So it's hovering between 320, 316, 320, I guess. So I will check the temperature, show you amperage at 12 volt, and we'll switch to 19 volt to conclude this video. And also maybe on 19 volt it may perform better, so we'll see it. So let's check our readings here on the temperatures. I'm gonna show you guys my just seconds, my temperature. You could see on the MOSFET right there. So it's around 54 degrees. You could see the max. You could see clearly there. Sorry. Okay. All right. So So maximum temperature, the one that's showing the MOSFET temperature. So it's getting around 56 degrees on that hottest spot. There's 4 of them, so one of them a little bit hotter. Now just to compare any of 280 without the heatsinks, we're getting 58 degrees here, maximum 59. Let's check another one. So those are, I have not installed heatsinks. Let's see what we get here. 57, 56 degrees on the hot spots. So they're basically the temperature around those MOSFETs getting pretty hot on without the heatsinks. It's also around same 56, 57 degrees, right? So we're getting about the same temperatures now with the overclocks of 340 with the heatsink versus the ones without the heatsinks. So I think it's a good idea to add heatsinks anyway, even if you're gonna keep mining on 280 gigahash. So let's see on the amperage here. So we're close to 14 amp, 167 watt at the 166, 67 watt on your connector. So it's kind of hard to measure temperature on my connector. And at the wall I'm getting 1120 watts. We previously had 1080, so it's about 40 watt extra with all these fans running. Obviously it's a lot more. And let's see what do we get on the connector there. Maximum 41 degree. Yeah, it's hard to tell where that connector getting hot, you know, to be honest. It's kind of like almost at the bottom of the female adapter. It's where the hottest part on this connector. Cable itself doesn't look like it's hot at all. It's kind of running at around 25 degrees, so there's nothing hot on the cable. 17 degree. We'll check connectors on our power supply at 12 volt right here, and you could see there's nothing hot there on the cables. About 29 degree on the cables, and if you could see that, 34. So they're pretty cool to touch. There's nothing on the connection itself. It's slightly warmer on the actual board, on the breaking board. So that's what we get in with our miners. Let's take a look overall. So it looks like three of my miners, because of the RPM on those exterior fans running faster, 3200 versus 2600 on this 4. Therefore, all 3 of them actually cooler in about same temperature range, I think. Maximum 36 degrees. So there's nothing change outside much for these overclocks, and I guess we just added 40 watt on the amps, but 4 amps extra, right? No, 3 amps. I want to say, yeah, 3 amps is 14 amp after we have 11 amps. So it's 3 extra amp, 167 watts. So it's about 4 watts here extra, and about 40 watts extra at the wall. Let's switch and put 19 volts, and let's restart it and see what we get there. Okay, I'll be using this step-up converter that it's rated for 380 watts, which is pretty much overkill for 168. I just have that already made up and ready to go. So I'm gonna simply disconnect my 12 volt, plug it in here to my converter here, and then plug another end to the 19 volt, and also add this power reader from the other side. So let's do it. We'll disconnect this, and we're gonna add this to the 19 volt side, which is yellow part. Okay, so this is gonna be our 19 volt reader, and we're gonna connect 12 volt and disconnect this 12 volt from here. Simply plug it into our adapter. So now our meter showing 19 volt here and 12 volt at power supply entrance. Okay, input, and let's connect 19 volt and we'll see the difference on the reading of this wattage rate once it's started up and mining. So our input is 12 volt, output is 19 volt from this converter, and it's going to our miner that's overclocked to 320 gigahash. Let's wait till it starts mining and we'll come back in 5-10 minutes. Right guys, so I've been about 36 minutes on 19 volt. And what I noticed, the temperatures went about 51 degree, and I had to put my external fan to 3500 RPM to drop it down a little below 50 just to be safe. I have my internal fans running at the 100%. You could see 6057 RPM. So basically what I'm getting at about 324 up to 330. So I'm not getting 340 anyways, so I don't think the voltage really here made a great deal other than this temperature. So our temperatures too stays the same, 28, but this one went up to 51 now with the higher spin external fan, and you can see how louder it is. About 58, about the same, right? So it looked to me a little bit louder. Yeah, up to 60. So maybe a couple decibels from 58. Anyways, let's take a look at temperatures and we'll make the final set up there. Let's check it out. Okay, so first of all, on the MOSFETs, we want to check again. So let's look at the one without the heatsinks. We're getting up to 51, 52 degrees maximum around that area of MOSFETs. Let's check on my overclock with the 19 volts. Now it's running a lot hotter, around 60 on those heatsinks, around 60, 60. I've seen 61 now with the higher fan speed. It's around 60 degree. Hope you guys could see that max temperature, right? Okay, so that's where we are on the, let's see what we have here. Connector's pretty much cold anyway, there's nothing wrong with this side. Overall temperature of these miners is okay. They're all kind of in the same range right now. Not huge difference. And let's check our amperage reader here. So at 19 volt we have 8.3 amp, 159 watt for 340 gigahash overclocks. It's not low voltage. I didn't run low voltage for this video because I didn't have a luck before on this miner, on this KS0-PRO. Now on the 12 volt we are 14.4, 172 watts. So looks like 19 volts. It's a little bit lower wattage on that side of voltage, but I don't know if you can get 19 volt good efficiency. I guess PSU will be okay with this connector because 8 amp is under 10 amp, which you're gonna be okay on your connector 5.5 millimeter. However, on the 12 volt, it's gonna be kind of risky. You're gonna risk of losing that connector sooner or later, so I would not recommend doing that. So I'm gonna be transferring to, probably if I do that, just to that silicone wire. I'm gonna add that and run on 12 volts because they're getting a lot better wattage. Watt reader on my, I think I added like another 10 watts at the wall using this converter alone. So it's 10 extra watts. You don't want to waste it. We'll have to make something, but Now it became a lot noisier for me. Now this connector, by the way, the temperature on the 8. Let's see if we can get that temperature reading. All right, so it's a lot cooler. I have to say it's a lot cooler. It's about 34 degrees max, probably 34, 32 degrees on connector, compared to was 41, 42 degrees before. So that silicone cable is the winner. Nothing there is like 27, 30 degrees, no, 20 degrees probably. Not even warm at all. And this transformer gets a little bit warm, but not too much, only like 26 degrees Celsius. So I think that's it for this video. Now this heater is going to become a really noisy one, and I'm going to need to move it somewhere if I'm going to use this overclock. It's not any longer quiet heater, so we'll have to figure out something. And then for another video, I'm thinking of using this, my mining box that I use for GPU mining. I had set up for 8 GPUs before. So it was a mining box, 8 GPUs. I had this 5,000 RPM, same fans blowing through them, keep them cool and nice until I transfer to Octaminer. So now I'm gonna remove all these, leave the power supplies on each side. So this is my 1200 Hewlett-Packard HP server PSU. I'm gonna use that. Connect another one on the other side. Enlarge a little bit to be able to fit this two 8-inch for possibly for Xfinity fans in the future. If this guy is going to be too noisy, I'm going to try to use just these fans, 5,000 RPM with the temperature sensors, or transfer into Infinity fan instead. So we'll see. What do you guys think? Let me know in your comments if you think I should try that and transfer all my KS0-PROs all in that box. Now I'm gonna just keep one heater, which is KS0 standard original, because these are quiet. I don't know if you can hear that, but they run a lot quieter because I didn't have to, there's nothing extra with those cooling that we did on the KS0-PRO. So anyways, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped you to make decision on upgrading your firmware to 340, but you definitely need to follow the steps and make sure you watch your temperatures if you can on your MOSFETs, and also make sure you're using proper voltage to make sure you don't overheat your connectors. So that's it for this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.